Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. Hey, what's up, everybody? We're gonna just work on some live coding. So I'm just doing some stuff on my app. I thought it'd be maybe helpful or entertaining for people to see what I've been working on, and it also helps motivate me as well when I'm working on this to kind of keep coming back and to keep working on it. And I've learned a couple more tricks as well this week, and maybe if we have time, I'll share them with you, mainly using the look and feel class. So I've been doing some stuff with custom fonts, importing fonts, also stuff with customizing things like combo boxes and sliders, things like that. Also buttons. So I guess, yeah, if people have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And I'm just going to work through this. So this is an app that I've been working on for quite some time now. Like I said, it's motivating for me to actually stream this because it actually motivates me to finish it rather than just leave it hanging there. It's been actually kind of hanging around for quite some time, and every now and then I actually just bring it back out and I work a little bit more on it, but I need to actually finish it, and it's got everything there. I just actually need to do a bit more with the UI before I think it's actually ready for a beta. So yeah, so that's why I'm here, and I hope everybody's having a great Saturday night. And I'm going to just start working on this. So at the moment, what we have is we have a setup screen. I actually have a hardware mixer. You can't really see it, but it's actually just connected down at my feet. So it's this mixer here. So it's just showing the status as connected. And last week we did a little bit of work where I actually was doing where the screen could tell, working on a state where if the mixer was unplugged or if no mixer was connected, there's just a flashing logo that says, please connect mixer. I'll show you that right now, actually, in one moment. So yeah, so that's, I need to fix that. So that's just showing in the regular font, and I need to show that in my bold font. But as you can see, it blinks, which is quite nice. And then when I connect it, then everything comes up. It'd be nice if I could actually create an animation that would actually just kind of animate the connections being made. Maybe that's something I could do down the line. That's actually quite a bit of work. I actually tried to do that the other day, just in my own time, but I found that was actually pretty difficult to do, and it was pretty difficult to do it smoothly. For some reason, when the line was on the y-axis, when it was trying to go on the y-axis, it was going really slow, and then when the path would go on the x-axis, it would go really fast. I could not figure out why that was happening, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to shelve that for now, and maybe I'll just come back. Maybe I'll just come back to it later. So yeah, I might come back to that a little bit later. But stuff like maybe these turntables, when I actually connect the mixer, it'd be cool if they actually had like an animation that actually slowly formed the turntable. But as I said, those things take quite a while to actually do, those transitions. And I thought maybe it'd be better just to work on the core functionality and actually get this thing fully working, and then I can work on the icing on the cake, so to speak. So one of the first things that we're going to do actually is I'm going to actually just take this please connect mixer to begin, and I'm going to actually change this to our bold font, because at the moment this is showing in a regular font. And I'll show you a nice little trick that I did the other day, where I actually had a situation where I had to, so I got this font. It's a Google font. It's called Enter. It's just called Enter. And the problem is that it has all of these different types. It has bold, it has extra bold, regular, thin, extra thin. And so what I had to do was I ended up having to import these individually to use them, to actually use them where I needed to, because the way that I was trying to do it using Juice's inbuilt attributes, using the bolden font, you can actually try to get the bold attribute from the combined font, and it wasn't working. So I ended up taking this approach, which was that I actually put each one of the individual fonts, in its own typeface pointer object, and now I can just call those as needed. So you have these three: bold font, plain font, and thin font. I like to keep that. I like to keep it kind of simple. So yeah. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually go to this screen, the setup screen, and we're actually just going to make this font bold. So this is the connect mixer status, and as you can see here, we have this set color. And what I'm going to do is, okay, so with this set font, and you can see this is a perfect example of what I was talking about, where I'm trying to get the bolden font, and nothing is actually, it's not getting the bolden font attribute properly. So one thing that I did was I had to, so there's one way that you could do this, which is that you could create a juice font object inline on the fly by just doing this. So what I'll do is I want this to be the bold font. So what I'll do is I'll just take this, and this set font function call actually takes a juice font object. So let me pull up my actual API here so I can show you what I mean. So we got, here we go, juice master, and then we will go into the graphics class. So that's what that G is. So we'll go in here, and we see that in set font, we see that you can insert a font object. Well, if I just do this will not work, as we will be able to see. And one thing that I'm doing is I'm actually I actually noticed that whenever, so basically I have a lot of my shared, so there are actually two apps that are using a lot of shared code, and some of this shared code is so I have the shared code in its own juice module, and when I adjust code within the module, it actually takes a long time to compile. But whenever I do anything that's actually specific to this specific app, it actually compiles really fast. So I apologize in advance for the very long compile times when I have to actually do something that's inside the module. I guess the idea is that you wouldn't want to actually be doing things inside the module very often, or that the module is actually made to not be worked on that often. I guess that's the I guess that's what it is. Oh, actually, this actually worked. So let's take a look here, see if this works. I might have to set the font size after bold font, but let's take a look here. So it worked. So we see that we do have the font there, but it's actually ridiculously small. So we're just going to have to make that quite a bit bigger. I'm wondering if I set the font after this font size, then let's make this something like 140, and then we will recompile. So I'm just going to work on that, and then I think that what else am I going to do? So then we're going to move on to the actual lesson and play screen, and then I'm going to actually do some more stuff in that. So we got a question from Cuba asking if this is an open source app. No, it is not. It is not an open source app. This is something that I'm working on that eventually I will actually put out for people to buy. So no, not open source, unfortunately. Yeah, even though I do have quite a bit of open source stuff on the GitHub. So the address for that is github.com/the audio programmer. So yeah, so you can find it. So you can find plenty of stuff there. So now you can see it's actually huge. Oh, actually, this isn't too bad. Maybe it's a little bit too big. Yeah, this is a bit too big. So I'm just going to scale that back to about 100. And then I will move on here and do some other things. So we're finished with that now. And then what we're going to do while I'm actually just going to build that in the background and think about some other things that we want to do. So I have a couple different parts of the app that I want to do in the near future. So I actually have a lesson display, and at the moment it's like an album cover, and it's kind of generic. It's a bit generic the way that I have it set up right now. But what I'd eventually like to do is I'd like to actually get the album cover. Well, I'd like to get a couple versions of the album cover, or to allow users to actually make these, to make their own album covers. But eventually what I'd like to do is I'd like to make it where when the user clicks, maybe it flips around to the back. Oh, you'd like me to make the IDE bigger? Cool, I'll just do, let's see. How is this? That better? There you go. So yeah, so I'm thinking that what I'd like to do is I would like to maybe make the album flip around. I mean, that's once again an animation. It'd be pretty, you'd have to do some sort of transform, I guess, to actually get this square to actually kind of turn around. That could be something interesting to work on. I think once again that would be something that would be maybe maybe something to do as icing on the cake. But okay, cool. So now we see that we have this please connect a mixer to begin. That's pretty good. I might even make that a little bit smaller. I'll just leave it as it is from now, just to keep from the compile times. And now I'll actually turn on the mixer. So here we go. And now the mixer's connecting. So now it's connected. So Master Blaze says, can you teach me how to make a sampler like Contact or a decent sampler? So Contact is actually a very tough project. That's a very big project to actually try to make. And it takes people who have actually been doing this for years, a very long time to do. I actually know somebody who used to work on the Contact team, somebody named Teamer Dumler, who actually co-hosts the audio programmer meetups with us. And he used to work on the Contact team. And he was telling me that making an instrument like Contact is actually probably the second hardest thing to making a DAW. It's very difficult thing to do. However, I do have a tutorial on making a simple sampler, and that is actually on our YouTube page. I will show you where that is. So if we just go here to the YouTube page, and if I go to so let me go to my channel, and then if you scroll down, so there are a lot of different tutorials here. So I think in here I have there's a playlist. So in here in our playlist, we have this build a simple sampler VST plugin with Juice. So that would be the tutorial to check out. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that or not, but yeah, so you have... Hey, what's up, everybody? I'd like to welcome you to... So in there we have 10 videos, right? So probably about 5 hours worth of tutorials just on how to build something simple where you can load a sample, play it across the keyboard. That is where you would find that. And yeah, so try that out, Master Blaze, and let us know how you get along. So, okay, so going back here to the app, I'm actually going to turn my camera off here so you can actually... Oh, that's interesting. When I turned off the camera, it killed the audio. Sorry about that. That's really strange. Anyways, yeah. So when you're first starting off, try to start off simple because a lot of people, they come in, they say, I want to build something like Serum. I want to build something like Contact. I want to build something like Ableton. Those are very, very big projects that all of them, except for maybe Serum, have had multiple developers working on those projects, teams of developers working full time on those projects. Like a DAW is a absolutely huge project to work on. And yeah, it's so my advice to anybody who's getting started, who I imagine some of the people watching this video are looking to get into this type of development, is try out the tutorials, try out some of the tutorial series playlists that I've set up. So I have one on building, I actually have two synths that, two simple synths that we've built with Juice, and have the sampler tutorial as well. And there are a lot of other ones where I go over different common things that you would try to do in audio programming, stuff like playing a file or setting up settings where you would be able to change sound cards, also like customizing your UI and getting sliders on the screen and buttons and how to set those things up. So all of those things just take time, and I would encourage you to go through the tutorials that we've done on the page. I mean, I think we have about 180 videos now on the page. And also the Juice website as well has a load of tutorials on many of the common things that you would want to do in an audio app or in an audio plugin. And we go through a lot of those things. I mean, people have actually got jobs through just learning the stuff through the site and just following along with the tutorials, and they take it a lot further than I've taken it in terms of their knowledge of programming and their knowledge of digital signal processing. But I think that these things are if you have the motivation to do it, there's you can actually do it. You just have to keep coming back. Just like I keep coming back to this app. This is an app that I've actually been working on for probably about on and off for about 2 years now, 3 years now. And I just keep coming back to it each day, doing a little bit on it, learning new stuff, going through the Discord, asking other people questions. So we have some amazing software developers who are in our Discord who take the time to help people along with their with their plugins and trying to help developers get started. People like Ayalamir, Daniel. We have Martin, who goes by Normalized, in the chat. We have Zanakios. There are some developers who are very charitable in terms of giving their time and their knowledge to help others. And I hope that when some of you actually learn how to develop this, that you pass it on to other people as well. This is why I'm actually live streaming this app. There's because I think that knowledge is to be shared, and that it helps other people get along, and helps other people find opportunities and make amazing things. And I hope that it helps you as well. So just moving on with what I've been working on. So essentially, I have this hardware set up, and now I have this select lesson button that once you're done setting up your DJ hardware, you can actually select a lesson. Now you go to this screen, and throughout the week, I've actually been working on just being able to go back and forth between states, which is actually something that is a little bit more difficult than it involves more than people would think. So if I go back to the setup screen again, and I click on that, now it brings me back to the setup screen. But that's actually a little bit more involved than what people may think. People may think, oh, it's just you going back to a previous screen, but you got things that maybe would have loaded that need to unload, things that maybe would have destroyed, objects that would have destructed that need to be reinitialized, and things like that. So now you hit the lesson select button, and these are the different lessons. And as you can see, we have a little bit of animation that we have on the on these. These are supposed to be album covers. They don't really look too much like album covers at the moment. They look okay. And then I hit this, and this brings us to the play screen, which is still, as you can see, a work in progress, actually. So up here we have this mute button, which would actually mute the track. We have so this is like a game that I'm working on, a DJ game, and you have this loop game that you can turn on or off, and then you can also go back to setup, and I can also hit spacebar to actually start the game. But there's loads of stuff that needs to be done here. Saying things like needing to, if I just hit the spacebar again, we notice that it goes back to the intro, and then it does that, where it should actually stop. And what you need to do is you need to stop, you need to change, and you see that as I'm playing through this again, it's not doing what it was doing before. So we can see that the state hasn't been reinitialized properly. Also, if I just hit the setup button, what would happen then? It may crash. Actually, no, it goes back. It actually goes back. But I would imagine that there are many things that have been set up in the background that haven't been properly killed off, or probably in this state that's not in the right state. And so that's the big challenge. That's the big challenge of big apps like this, is that you have these situations where you have all of these different objects and all of these different things that are in a particular state. And then if I go and I hit setup, now I need everything to stop. I need everything to maybe reinitialize, or maybe to destruct, or maybe to move to a different state. And there are all these things to take care of. Buttons that need to appear, buttons that need to disappear, and yeah, so it's a pretty big. I would say that it's a pretty sizable app. So let's see. So yeah, so now I'm back here and we see that our timeline is still not working properly. We see that this isn't working properly either. This is all messed up. So there's actually plenty to do on this app still, but it's coming along though. So I've been working actually a lot on the shades of so the UI. So we see that we have this kind of lighter colored, kind of medium gray color, and so I was running into decisions that I needed to make in terms of, for instance, right? So one thing that I've been really debating about. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. One thing that I've been really debating about was about. So you have this lighter shade, and then you say, okay, well, I have this panel that's going to be a darker shade, but then now I have a options panel that's inside of this panel, and now that needs to be maybe that you can either go darker, or you could go lighter, or you could go the same. I chose to actually go back to lighter, so it feels like I wanted this feeling like maybe this was transparent, like there's been a hole cut out of it, and that and then I worked on getting these fonts. So this is a different font than the default font, and I have this advanced settings where I have all of these settings that I actually want to hide later on. I don't want these to be necessarily exposed to the user, but I felt really apprehensive about just getting rid of them. So maybe this will be an admin panel at some point. If you go into other DJ apps like Serato, then in other apps like Serato, the user actually doesn't have the parameters exposed to actually change sound cards. It's either you're connected or you disconnect, and if you're disconnected, then you're hooked up to whatever the default OS sound output is. So one thing I might do here, so some people have been asking to make the IDE bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually remove the chat here. So you can actually still talk on the chat. I'm just going to move it like that. And I think that will make things better for people. So, so yeah, so I hope that helps. And then maybe what I'll do is I will put myself beside like that. How is that? I would cut off my camera, except it cuts off the sound when I cut off the camera, which is really strange. So the UI is really something that I've been giving a lot of thought to. There's still some little things, like this is a rounded rectangle, but if I don't know how closely you can see, but it's actually looks like you can see that there's a square rectangle and then the round rectangle's been drawn above it. So little stuff like that. It's not a big deal, but I think it could be better. And looking at my select lesson button, so I can't tell if it's the same color as this back panel or not. It feels like it's darkened, and I think that I'd like it to be lighter. But once again, something that I could come back to, and and actually improve on it. So we have a comment from William Lau, who says that that he never even noticed that the sound sound card selection was missing in Serato. And oh, you know about and he was saying about there was this project that Ableton and Serato did a few years. I say a few years. It was probably about 7, 8, 10 years ago. It was a long time ago. It's called The Bridge, and it was a collaboration between Serato and Ableton, and it was something that a lot of people were really excited about because it was this project that sought to combine the power of Ableton with Serato, so you could actually launch clips from inside Serato. The biggest problem with The Bridge was that you have two different audio engines, and I can't even imagine what a nightmare that project must have been, or how challenging it must have been for the developers, because the problem is that you have two different audio engines that are that you have to make work together. So you have two companies using two completely different audio engines. How do you actually even get that to actually work? The problem with Ableton's audio engine, as opposed to Serato's, was that in Serato, of course, it's built to react like DJ vinyl. So you can make it go forwards, you can make it go backwards, and so it was like DJ vinyl. But Ableton's engine was only designed to play forwards, so you couldn't actually play it backwards. You can't actually rewind the Ableton vinyl like the Ableton engine the way that you would be able to do with Serato, which was actually something that was a big limitation for in terms of this project called The Bridge, this Ableton Serato collaboration, because you could actually take something that was from Ableton and put it onto one of your decks, but you couldn't actually scratch it. It would only play forward. It couldn't play backwards. And that was a big challenge, I think, for them to do. And I don't think that they were able to do it, and they ended up shelving the Bridge project, which is unfortunate, because I think that there is potential for something like that, something that's really amazing like that. That's almost like a DAW for DJs in a way. I don't know if the DJ, as a DJ myself, there's this big market for DJs who create remixes and create their own edits. And I guess from a workflow standpoint, there's always been this question of if there's a market that would be big enough for a DJ DAW. So, because if you have a development team that wants to create, where you want to create a DAW that's built specifically for DJs, the amount of money that you would need to spend to actually make it would just, you would want it to be something that would be aimed towards the mass market. That DJing is actually seen as almost like a subset of the larger producing market. And so there's always been this question of if there was a DAW that was built specifically for DJs, then would it take off? Would it appeal to DJs? I think another thing is that, especially DAWs like Ableton, they have their capabilities are so deep that the functionality and the usability of it is so deep that it would just take years to create something like that, another DAW that would have that level of functionality and would be able to meet the expectations that DJs would be looking for in terms of being able to do something like that. But I mean, as somebody named Lovely Shrewberry says Ableton somewhat fills that role currently. Yeah, because Ableton is actually DJing software. It's just a different type of DJing. And yeah, I think that now, now people are starting to really expand their thoughts on what DJing is and what DJing isn't. I remember a time where even DJing on CDs or DJing with Serato even was almost frowned upon. It was seen as not real DJing. But I think people have really loosened up on what DJing is and what DJing is not, and that there's a lot of interesting stuff that's happening in this space. And you've got the stems. Have you seen the stems stuff that what's that company? I can't remember the company that the company's escaping my mind at the moment, but where you can do source separation in the DAW. I'm not in the DAW, but in the DJ software. Is pretty amazing, like live remixing on the fly where you can actually isolate stems. So yeah, there's quite a bit of interesting stuff that's happening in this space at the moment. So anyways, yeah, so like I was saying, building an app even like this, I don't even really this app is like nothing in comparison to a DAW, but even though it has some DAW-like features like BPM, it does BPM analysis, so you can keep time, and you have multiple tracks, kind of like a DAW, and it's you know, it's not anywhere near the scale of a DAW where you have to host plugins and things like that. It doesn't do anything like that. That would be fun though. So. Next Studio Dev says that they're working on making a DAW with Traction Engine, and been doing it for 1.5 years, and it's a tough job. Yeah, so you have this, you have another option for building a big app like this, which is called Traction Engine. Traction Engine is developed by the people who make Traction, and Traction, or it goes by the proper name that it goes by is called Waveform, but the company is called Traction, and it used to go by the name Traction. It's actually a DAW. It's full-fledged DAW. It's really awesome. It looks a lot like in certain ways like Ableton. So if you look at this. You will see that this is a fully fledged DAW, right? It has tracks, you can load plugins, you have anything that you can do with a DAW. Well, you have this thing called Traction Engine, which is essentially that DAW in code, except they've taken the UI, the user interface off the top of it. So you can actually build a DAW with it. All you need to do is just build the UI, which is actually a lot of work. The UI is a bunch of work. So, but it has all of the stuff that you would need in a DAW, plugin hosting, a lot of the really complex multi-threading that you would need to work out to create a DAW is actually already figured out for you. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that Traction Engine can do. Problem with Traction Engine is that there isn't a whole bunch of documentation on how to actually use it. So, but I think that you can actually create an app quite quickly using Traction Engine if you really know your stuff. So yeah, so that's where we're at. But yeah, anyway, so going back to my app for a second, my simple app. So yeah, so we have this hardware set up. We go to the select screen and you can select these lessons. So these are, this is like a whole bunch of data that is actually packed up and pretty complex. I didn't actually do that part of the app. There's another person named Matthew who actually worked out a lot of the metadata and how to actually do that. He's an amazing developer, and he did a great job on that. And I can't show you that part of the app because we have an agreement that anything that he's coded, I wouldn't show publicly. So I will keep that under the hood. But these other parts that I've done myself, I'm quite happy to show you. We're currently in a state where I have these buttons. And what I would like is when I hit the space bar, like right now I'm hitting loop game, and I don't know whether it's actually turning on or off or what, because I don't have any sort of state change that's actually happening when I actually click the button. So yeah, so that's another thing. And we can see here as well that I've exited out of the app while the app was playing. And when you do that, what you have to do is you have to also destroy your objects in order. So certain things that have been allocated need to be deallocated, and threads need to be shut down, and so on. And we can see that one of the threads hasn't been shut down properly, and then it runs into this nasty bug here. So that's something that I'll have to come back to as well at some point. So there's quite a bit to actually still do this, to do on this app. But let's do something really simple, like just getting a button to change a color. I think that's a great place for us to actually go and try to do something here. So what I'll do is I'll go into my play screen. So this is actually the UI representation of everything that you see on the play screen itself. So I have my level meters, I have waveforms, I have my audio discs, all of these things that I've created over time. And so now we have our text button, which is called loop game button. So now what I'm going to do is, the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually just going to go through and actually review what loop game button is actually doing. So, and see all of the different things, make sure that it's actually in the right state when you actually click it, things like that. And what's awesome about this is that if you've been watching my past live streams, you'll see that when I was working down here in my module of my shared code, it was actually taking a long time to compile. But what you'll see is when I'm actually working up here in this part of the app where it's not inside the module, it actually compiles super fast, which is really cool. So we have this loop game button, and we see that we're setting. So we see that we're setting the text of it, which is just loop game, and we see that we have this. We're setting the toggle state, the default toggle state, to false. So we don't want it to be when we first start up the app. We want the loop game button to be turned off. And what we'll do is when then we have this set clicking toggle state to be true, which means that you can you click it once, it turns on, click it another time, it turns off. Then we see that we have a situation where we're actually setting the button color ID and the button color on ID to green, but we see that it's actually not turning green when we're actually clicking it. So what is going on with that? So I have a feeling that we may need to dive into the look and feel class again and have a look at what's happening there. So this is a problem. So we need to see why the colors are not setting properly. So let's see here. So if we go into our look and feel class, so look and feel class is a place where you can actually customize your certain parts of your UI, and you can actually streamline them. So if you want every button to be a certain color or to have a certain text, you can actually do that using your own custom look and feel class. And you can see that what we've done is we've created this Scratch Champ look and feel, which inherits from the Juice look and feel. And then what you have to do is you just have to re-implement. So if I wanted my combo box, or if I wanted my pop-up menus to draw differently than the default Juice way, then I can actually go in and I can actually change it to whatever I want to do. So what I'm suspecting is that we have a problem where we have this draw button background that's happening. And if we go into draw button background, draw button background, the question is, do we have a situation where we're actually setting the background color to a default color that's different from what so are we hard coding the background color? It doesn't seem like I am, from what I can see. So we have this, yes. So if we take a look, right, we have on line 162, we have setting color to the background color. Then we have this if statement. So this is all stuff that actually the Juice team have written, and I'm just changing a few lines just to make it my way. And we can see, if we read through this carefully, we'll be able to see where I've actually maybe not done this effectively. So we see that it says if the button is connected on the left or connected on the right. So you have this way that you can actually connect buttons together. And it does this thing where it actually connects the buttons together, and then it fills the color with theme color orange. So I think this should be background color. So we're going to change this back, but that's not the point. That's not where I wanted to do that. That wasn't really the focus. The focus is this else. So this is where we're actually drawing the button itself. So all those buttons that we were seeing, we were actually drawing using this code. So we have this set color, and it's asking if the mouse is over the button. If the mouse is over the button, then we want it to be the light tone color, which is a color that I've set in my style sheet. So if I just hit tab, and then in my style sheet, I have these colors: medium tone color, light tone color. So this is just so I don't have to, so I can have like a color scheme for the whole app, right? And so it's asking if the mouse is over the button. If it's over the button, then I want it to be the light tone color. Otherwise, I want it to be the medium tone color, right? So this is hard coded. So any button that I draw will be set to these shades of gray, right? Medium tone color and light tone color, which are just two different shades of gray. That's not really what I want. I'm going to actually change this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back and I want to look at the way that the Juice team have actually implemented this, because I might want to change it back. So I'm going to go back to, you can do Command Shift. So let me actually get the function call. So this is called Draw Button Background. So I'm actually just going to copy this, go into my other window, and you can, on Xcode, you can do Command Shift F like this, and I'm just going to paste that up here in this Draw Button Background. And now I'm just going to scroll down to where it's implemented in Look and Feel V4, which is right here, and just see how it was actually set out in this implementation. So we see that we have fill rounded rectangle, and maybe that's what we want to do. So we have draw rounded rect. So let's think about this, right? So fill rounded rectangle is actually the back of the background color, and if we want, and then we have the set color, and then draw rounded rectangle actually just draws the actual line around the outside. Okay, so let's just copy this and then go back to our own look and feel, and we're going to scroll back down, and we can see what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to comment out this line. And actually, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it, let's see here. So I'm trying to remember what the function call is. I think it's like with increased saturation or something like that. So we could say, is the mouse over? So we will say, if the mouse isn't over, we're just going to set it to our color, which is background color. And if it is over, we can do background color dot, and then we want to go back into our Juice API, into the colors class, which is, where is it? Here we go. So I think it's with increased, with saturation. We can do with saturation, and where what we do is we actually increase the saturation. So it actually turns a slightly different color when we actually mouse over it. So let's try that. I don't know exactly what the setting on this should be, so I'm just going to try with saturation 1.0, because normally these are expected to be between 0 and 1. So yeah, so then I am just having a look at the color that was set, and then just looking at what we've set out for it. I think this is fine. I've just set it, I've hard coded it to be white, and then if the mouse is over, then you have it where the alpha actually decreases. Would it be decreases or increases, where it gets more or less transparent? But you'll see once we actually get done building this, and you can actually see what's actually happening. So cool, we got build succeeded. And hopefully if we've done this properly, then what we will find is that our button should be green now. So, so now we see that we have a few things that we need to check out. So we have this, we have when we're actually mousing over these buttons, they're turning to this weird red color. I guess that's the increased saturation of gray, which is not what we want, right? But we can come back and we can fix that. So now we select the lesson, and then now when I go here, so hopefully our loop game button is actually green now. So cool. This is cool, right? So now we can see that loop game. So we had this code that was happening in our loop game button that we had set. We had set it to be green, but that what was happening was that our look and feel was actually overriding that, because that's the code that it goes to if you want to draw a custom button, and we had it hard coded to a certain color. And now that we've got rid of that, now our button is green as we expect it to be. And hopefully if I click on it, it will actually turn on. There we go, on and off. So that's cool. So that's turning on and off properly. And we have mute, which would be where we can mute the instrumental track. So that's cool. Yeah, so that's fine. And we can see, if you could look carefully, you can actually see that the outside line of the color actually changes color when I actually mouse over it. The only thing that's happening that's kind of strange is this one right here, where we are doing this saturation, and that's not quite right. So that's not what we want. We actually want it to be, so let's think about this, what we actually want this to do. So we want it to be where it just slightly changes color. So maybe we just change the alpha on this. So let's try that. So if we go back to our look and feel, we can change this saturation. We'll do this with alpha. And we'll just make this something that's slightly different, maybe 0.7, and we will try that and see how that goes. So what that should do, that should very slightly change the color of the button when we actually hover over it. So we'll wait for a second for that to build. And while we're doing that, we can actually do a couple other things as well. These will be quite simple. So if we go back to our play screen, so one thing that we noticed was that going back to play screen, or going back to our loop game button. So we had a situation, and I'm just debating about what to do here. So here we go, select lesson. So before it was turning this kind of strange burgundy color. Now when I mouse over, so you can see now that it actually turns slightly different, like you're actually just putting the mouse over the button. So that, it highlights. So I think that's a pretty good option there. Select lesson button. I'm actually going to change that color, but I'll come back to that. So we hit select lesson, and it's taking a second to load. Then we have where we select our lesson itself. So I click that, And now we're back here again. And yeah, this is cool. I mean, you could really do a lot here, right? So I could actually make it where maybe setup actually, the font of that actually kind of changes. That's stuff that I could probably come back and do a little bit later. Loop game. So one thing that I was debating about was whether to make these options, make it where you can actually turn these on or off, depending on. I was thinking maybe I don't want those to be selectable unless we've actually hit the play button already. But I think I'm actually going to keep those. I think I'm actually going to keep those the way that they are, because maybe you want to turn on the option loop game before you actually start playing it. And then we have this mute, and we can mute that or unmute it, and you can't hear any sound at the moment. But yeah, so that's cool. That's fine. Another thing that I was thinking was that I actually have a login screen that allows you to log in. And what I want to do at some point is, so I think it looks a little bit strange if I have these three buttons, but I have nothing here. So I was thinking that maybe the user's login information could be here, their user account information. So what I was going to do for now was I was going to do a blank, just kind of a blank component, or a blank, a blank kind of placeholder, so to speak. Also down here, it's strange that there's nothing actually down here in these corners. I actually had stuff that was here, and I'm debating what to do there as well. So part of me is thinking, so there are a couple key pieces of information that I imagine the user would want to know that we don't currently have displayed. So such as, well, what's the lesson? They've selected a lesson, but what's the lesson name? So there's no place where we have the lesson name selected. So that's something that would be key piece of information. What's the BPM? What's the advanced, the actual level that they're playing at? Is it beginner, medium, advanced? That's another piece of data that we actually haven't, we don't currently have in here. I also think that the album art, the cover art, would be cool to have displayed here somewhere. I actually have all of this set up. It's just in this kind of strange state at the moment where I've actually just made it not visible for the moment until I come back to it. But maybe that's something we can work on right now. So let's start with something simple where we just actually make a placeholder for the user information, and I'll come back to it a little bit later and actually put actually fill it in properly, where the metadata actually fills in the information properly. But for now, let's just do a placeholder, because I think that would be a nice simple one for people who are just actually starting out. So so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go down to I'm in my Juice module that I've actually written. And I'm actually going to just go in here, and I'm actually going to create a file. So I'm going to create a file. I will call this, let's see, user info. I'll call this user info, I think. And we will call this .h. And then we need to make a .cpp file to go along with it. That's interesting. That's not what I wanted to do. New file. That's what I wanted. And we will call this user info.cpp. There we go. So now we have a .h and a .cpp. Now what I need to do is I need to just put, so I have this in a namespace called Scratch Champ. So namespace is just a kind of a way to divide up libraries in our code, so to speak. And so all of our stuff is in namespace Scratch Champ. And I'm just going to take that. I'm going to copy that to our CPP because I forget that all the time. And now what I'm going to do is there's actually kind of a, where is it? It's actually tough to code and think and explain at the same time sometimes. But I actually have this .h file that actually contains, so these are all the files that are actually contained in this lib. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to add my, this should not be, oh no, that's fine. So this is all of our header files. So we need to look at our authorization section. And so what I'm going to do is down here at the bottom, I just need to include these files in the list of files that I want to be built. So I'm going to include user info.h. And then I'm going to go to my CPP, go down to the corresponding authorization file and do this for CPP. So now we've done that. And now we just actually need to create this class. So this will be class user info. And what we're going to do is we're going to inherit from the Juice component class. So Juice component is anything that's visual in Juice. I'm also just going to comment this and just so I know that this bracket is for SCRATCH champ. There we go. And it just keeps me from deleting things. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a public and private section. And here in public, I'm going to do a void paint. This is a Juice function that I'm going to override from the component class. Override. This may actually confuse you if you're not familiar with Juice at all. But I have tutorials on this on the component class, and you should check them out if you're unfamiliar with what I'm doing here. So now I just need to actually put these in my userinfo.cpp, and there we go. So I just need to qualify the names now. User info. This. Get rid of this override and functions here like this. And then I'm going to comment my namespace Scratch Champ. And here in this part, I'm actually going to do a g.fill rounded rectangle. I think it's fill rounded rectangle. So let's go back to our API. So we're going to go back to the graphics class. And so we want fill rounded rectangle. And I'm just going to set a color, fill the rounded rectangle. So once again, this is just going to be something that's going to hold a place in my in my UI for the moment. So we're going to do fill rounded rectangle, and then the arguments are I'm going to do this one, which is the rounded rectangle, what rectangle we want to fill, and the corner size. So I'm going to do get local bounds to float, and then I'll make the corner size 5.0. I will set the color to dark tone color, and then I've drawn the rectangle. Now I just want to draw around the outside, so I will do G set color, and we will set the color to white, and then draw, I think it's draw rounded rect, or draw rounded rectangle. So this is where you want to draw a rounded rectangle, but you don't want it to fill it. You don't want to fill it with that color. So draw rounded rectangle. And let's look at the arguments again. So it's just the same. It's just the same arguments, right? So here we go. So all I'm doing is all I've done to this point is I've just created a visual element where I've filled the background. I've basically created a rounded rectangle. I've filled it with this dark tone color, which is just gray, and then I've drawn around the outside with a white border. So it's a dark gray rectangle with a white border. That's really it. So now what I want to do is I actually want to bring this into my main component class. So what I will do is I'll go to my main component class, and where shall I put this? I think I will put this down here. Looks good. So I need to actually, do I need to include this individually? Yes, I do. So I will do include, and then this is /UI/ oh, no, that's not what I need to do, because all of this is actually, my juice module is actually included, so I don't actually need to include this. So since this is in my juice module, I just need to do scratch champ user info, and I will just call this user info. And then what I want to do, all I want to do here is I want to put this on the screen. So I will go up to my main component, and I will use this function called add, and actually I'm going to do add child. Let's see, do I want it to be add child component? Or yeah, I want it to be add child component. And this is user info. And then I need to set it visible. I want to set it visible depending on what state it is in. So the only state where I actually want it to not be visible is in when it's actually logging in. So let's see here. So I want to show you what it looks like when you actually first start up the app as well. So we have this function called init game state. And let's see, I will actually just comment this out here for a moment because I just want to show you what it actually looks like when you actually just first start it and you haven't actually logged in. So now I just need to make this actually visible. And it's going to be visible. So this is where it starts to get a little bit complicated in that we want we want this component where the user's logged in to be visible or invisible depending on the state of the app. So if it's in this login screen, we do not want it to be visible. So I will say user info set visible. I will set this to false. And then if they're in setup, then I want this to be true because they will have to log in order to actually get to the setup screen. So then I'm going to set the user info to the visibility to true. On load, I'm going to make sure that it's true as well. And then I have this function called setup play screen. Where is it? And then in here, I'm going to set it to true as well. And then in finished, I want it to true here as well. But I want, one thing that I noticed is that I want my setup button to be false. Or do I? Do I? No, I'll keep that as true. So one thing that I'm thinking about is maybe I don't need to explicitly set the component to true or false. Well, we'll come out. Actually, I'm sorry. We'll come back to that, right? I'm sure I can correct that later. So next thing we need to do is we actually need to use the resized method to actually set out where we want this this user info button to be. So I will put it here. I like to use this function called set bounds relative. This is something that my friend Eyal told me about, which has been an awesome way to set out your UI that I don't think a lot of people actually know about it, but it allows you to basically take your entire screen. So it's almost like I think the way that you would set it out in OpenGL, if anybody's ever done OpenGL, which is that everything that your whole screen, rather than having the pixel dimensions of the screen, it actually sets it out from 0 to 1. So basically the left-hand side of your screen would be 0 on the x-axis, and the very right-hand corner would be 1. And then same thing for the y-axis, it would just go 0 to 1. And so what I could do is I can actually set the x-axis from 0 to 1. And actually, I'm going to show you this cool thing that another friend showed me, which is this thing called Juice Live Constant. This is my new favorite thing, and I must do a separate tutorial about this. So what I'm going to do is you can actually set this. You can actually set component stuff on the fly and actually change the dimensions on the fly using this thing called Juice Live Constant. So if I say AutoX equals, and then we use this macro called Juice Live Constant like this, and I'll just give it a default value. I'll just say 0.5. And then I just need to do this for Y, W, and X. So just setting out. So I'll do Y, W, and H. I actually know the Y already is, I want this to be this. So I want that to, and I actually know what I want the height of this to be, so I could actually set that. So it's really just X and W that I need to worry about. And some of you are probably saying, what the heck is he doing right now? And I'm going to show you, but it is the most awesome thing ever if you've ever used Juice. Got a build failed. So what do we got? User info.h. oh, so this needs to be authorization. I just didn't point it to the right folder, UI. And this will need to happen in the CPP as well. So there we go. So now we will go back to our main component. Oh, another build failed. So scratch champ. Oh, I just typed that wrong. So there we go. So now building again, and I'll go back to my source file again. And yeah, you're about to see the beauty and the power of Juice Live Constant. It's the most amazing thing. And actually, a friend, Daniel, he actually has done something that's kind of similar to this, but on a larger scale. It's actually a Juice Live UI builder, and he's called it Plugin GUI Magic. It's actually, you can actually get it and check it out for free, and you could actually do a lot of this in real time. So, oh yeah, when I'm outside of my module, this needs to be scratch champ. Need to qualify. Oh, scratch champ. Scratch champ. Did I do that right? My spelling is off today. Scratch Amp is actually a pretty cool name. So here we go. So yeah, now I need to fix that again. Scratch Amp. That's actually kind of cool. Don't steal that one. So here we go. Back here, you're about to see the power, and hopefully this build doesn't actually fail this time. Of Juice Live Constant, which is really awesome. It's pretty phenomenal. And yeah, just waiting for this to build. Let's see what's going on in Discord while this is building. Don't switch. And cool. Got some people watching. And got some new members as well. Hey, welcome to everybody who's joined, who may be watching at the moment. And oh, we got another build fail. What happened? No matching member function call to, so draw rounded rectangle. I thought I had that right. Draw, oh, it needs corner size and thickness. So corner size is 5, and we will make thickness 3.0, like that. And now this should actually work. So yeah, so this is just actually drawing a pretty simple rectangle in this corner, and we're actually just going to resize it using this Juice Live Constant. It's actually pretty exciting. Might take a moment to build, but yeah, Juice Live Constant is something I learned about just a week ago from Martin, who goes by the name Normalized in our Discord, and it has actually really changed my life for UI building, especially when you're doing bigger apps like these that take a little while to compile, because you can actually dynamically adjust the size of your components on the fly. Okay, now we got build succeeded. So yeah, so we're gonna try this out. So just waiting for it to pop up, and here we go. Someday it'll actually pop up. Okay, here it is. So this is actually the login screens, which I haven't shown you yet. This is messed up. This isn't centered. I need to center that. But yeah, I've actually got a setup where I could just actually log in, just hitting the login button like this. And so this is our rectangle at the moment, right? So I'm just going to cycle through to our actual play screen. So I'm going to do this, choose a lesson. And what's really cool is that you have this really interesting thing that right here. So so once again, I've put this juice live constant in here. And what I can do is I can actually adjust these dynamically on the fly. So let me get my windows right, and you will see exactly what I mean. So currently we have the X, which is 0.5. And what I can do is I could actually just change this. So let me see. So I will make this 0. Oh, the only thing is that you have to, it's a little bit funny on like actually just actually you have to click with every number that you press. You have to click into the box, which is a bit weird. So let's see. So what have I done here? So this needs to be 0. So I've messed this up. 0.75. And so now we see that it's way over here now, right? And so now I'm going to bring it back a little bit. So let's make it 0.6 maybe. Okay, so that's a little bit too far to the left. And we will make it 0.7, 0.72, 0.725. There we go. So that looks good. So that looks lined up with the right turntable, which is nice. And now what I can do is I can actually set the width. So we see that the width currently goes way off the screen. We do not want that. And now I could just say 0. And let's see what the proper width for this is. So let's say 0.2. So that's a little bit too short. 0.3 is too long. So let's try 0.25. So a little bit longer than that. Let's say 2.6, 2.65. Okay, let's try 2.7. So you can see I can just walk through this. So it's 0.27, right? So as you can see, I've now just set the dimensions of that component dynamically. Just the only thing that I did wrong, oh man, and this is terrible, is I actually clicked out of that window, and now the only thing that I always forget to do is that you actually have to go back in here, and you actually have to put the numbers back in your code. If you exit out of that screen, then you forget, then you've lost it. Then you've lost it, and you have no way of actually getting it back. So I've actually got to go through that process all over again. So sorry, everybody. And but you'll get to see what I've done there again. So here we go. So we will just cycle around to the screen. So let's see if I can actually remember what this was. So this was 0.725, I think, 0.725. Cool. I have a good memory. And what was this? 0.175? Was it 1.7? No, maybe 2.7, 2.75, 2.7. There we go, 2.7. Okay, so I'm not going to go exit out of this now, and I'm actually going to go back. So we have 0.725, 0.725, and then we have 0.27. 0.27. I'll just put the F here to make sure that they're floating point values. And now we're good to go. So once again, you can see it's not quite perfect, right? So it draws this outside rectangle, then it draws the rounded rectangle inside of it. I mean, I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it a little bit later and actually straighten it out. So it's just a little bit not what the final version is going to be like. But I think overall that looks cool. Yeah. So let's see. What shall we do here? Shall we put in a DJ? Shall we put in like a DJ name? What else will we need? So we need a DJ name. We would need, I think the only thing that we would need is the DJ name and an option to log out. So we can make a logout button. It won't do anything at the moment. I need to probably have a look in the API on how to do that. Not the API, but in just in the way that I have this set up with the server backend. So this is actually hooked up to a server at the moment. But yeah, let's do that, right? So we're going to make a logout button, and we will make a field where we actually import the name, or I don't know if there's like a DJ name that I've actually attached to this, or if it's just the email address. It would be great if we actually had the a DJ name, which my DJ name is actually DJ at War. So let's work on that a little bit, right? So now I'm going to go back into this user info class. Hold on one second. I'm just going to close my window because it's starting to get cold. Okay, here we go. So now I'm back, and so let's make a button. So we got, we'll just make a text button. So you have this text button class, and I will say, this will actually be a good one for people who are just starting, actually, because you will see how I need to set this up, where if I click logout, that it actually it will actually change the state of the whole app, which is and we need to do this using a button listener, essentially. So I'm going to have a button that I'm going to set up in this little component class, but then when I click in this button, what needs to happen is that it needs to actually log out of the whole app and reset the state. For now, I'll just make it reset the state. I won't make it do the log out because it'll probably take me a while to actually remember what password I actually used for my own login. But let's see here. So we got so I will just call this logout button. This is a fantastic one for people who want to see how to relay data from class to class. So so here we go. So I'm going to make this text button. And George is asking about Juice Live Constant. I'll actually do a full tutorial on this next week, so so you can actually see what that's all about. But so let's go back here. So we need text button, and this is button name. So I don't need a button name. I just want to set the text. So so what I need to do now is I need to create a constructor, because the constructor will allow me to actually set certain things when I initialize this object. So that's what I'm going to do now. User info. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say logout button.setText. I do logouts. I'm just going to leave it like that. So logout button.setText. Log out. And then let's see, what else do we want to do here? So we will do add and make visible log out button. And actually, George, you will see what I've done with Juice Live Constant here very shortly. So I'm going to make 4 variables. So I will say use x equals, and then there's this macro called Juice Live Constant. The only thing is that it takes a little bit of setup to actually get it to actually turn the macro on, and I'll do a tutorial on that next week. So here we go. I will do this, and then once again, I'm just going to do this for all 4 variables like this. And do x, y, width, height. And now I'm going to do this. I'm just going to do log out button, set bounds relative, then x, y, w, and h, like that. So I want to make the background of this red. So let's do logout button, set color, and then I believe it's juice, text button, color, IDs, button, color, ID. This is stuff that you just get to know after you've been using Juice for a little while. And we will make this juice, colors. Do I have a red color in my style sheet? Let's have a look. So let's go to style. So look and feel, style. No, I do not. So it's okay. I'll just use the regular red color. And so now we will try to build this and see how we're doing. So currently what we're doing is we're creating this logout, this user info panel that will have the user's info and give them a chance to log out, to log out and sign in and then it would bring them back to the login screen. It would sign them out, and then you would log in as another user. So we're going to implement that partly right now. And this is a good one that'll teach you how to use change listeners and broadcasters. So essentially what we're going to have to do is, so there's a logout button, set text. I thought that was, let's see here. It's not set text, set button text. Okay. Yeah, so what we'll do is we need to actually route the data where we have our main application listening for changes that are listening for a click that's happening in the text button. So we're going to show you how to do that very shortly. And you're going to see a demo of this juice live constant, which is the most amazing thing that I've actually been discovered courtesy of our friend Martin very recently. So just waiting for this to build, since we're changing the actual juice module that I've written for this. It's actually going to take a little while for this to build. So yeah, please be patient with me. And in the meantime, if you're watching, you can join our community. Oh, there we go. Build succeeded. So we got our audio developer community on Discord, and you can join it using that link there down at the bottom. So yeah. So now I'm going to go to login, and so now we have this log out button that we have set here. Now this is Juice Live Constant right here, which is where I can actually adjust the dimensions of this button just on the fly while this is actually compiled. So let's see, what do we want to do here? Just thinking how big I want to actually make this logout and how big I would want to make the username. So I think I want it to be, I think I want to make it quite big. So maybe about 75. I would want the name to be probably 75% of the screen, maybe 75% of this particular component. So currently I have the X position at 0.5, so which is halfway through the component. So let's change this to 0.75. So we got 0.75 like that. Maybe that's a bit much. 0.6 maybe. That feels more right. And now our Y position, we can see that our Y position is too far down. So we just want to bring that up a bit. So we will make that 0. Let's say 2. There we go. So we'll make it 0.2. And we will make the width of this. So if this is 0.6, making it 0.4 would bring us all the way to the very edge of it. We want to bring it back just a little bit. So let's just say 0.3. 0.3. So 0.35. We want there to be a little bit of space there. We don't want the logout button to go all the way to the edge. So just thinking about, so maybe 0.3. So if it's 0.2, that gives us a 0.2 margin from the top. So 3.8. And then we will make the height of this 0. So you have 0.2 of a margin going down, then you want 0.2 of the margin coming up from the bottom. So that's 0.4. So you want to make this 0.6. So there we go. So now we have our logout button. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? So now the critical thing to do is that this doesn't actually change the code in your IDE. So you've actually got to go back and you've actually got to do that before you close this out, or else you will actually lose this info. So this was 0.6. The height was 0.2. And the width was 0.38 and 0.6 respectively. So we got 0.38 and 0.6. Now I can just get rid of these variables that I've created, and boom, I have my logout nice and in a place where I can just hit log out and it will do its thing. So one thing that I'm thinking, do I want this to be red or do I want it to be this orange? Might be cooler if it's this red orange color. Maybe. Yeah. Or should it be red? That's an interesting one. I'm gonna change it to I'm gonna change it to this red orangish color and see how that looks. So we could always come back to it. So I think it's theme color orange. So we'll do that. So now we are in a situation, right, where we have this logout button. We've drawn it on the screen. We've drawn it in this class called user info. But we have a problem. The button doesn't actually do anything yet. So what are we going to do? So there are a couple ways to think about this. There are a couple options. One would be that you have the logout button and you could do a logout button. You can use like a lambda called logout button on click. The problem is that the thing that you needed, the thing that you need to change is in your parent class, right? So this is in one of your children classes called user info, and that the state of the app, because you want this to change the state of the entire app, and that's in your parent class, that's in your big class. So one option is to make your button aware of what's happening in your parent, which I do not advise. So I always try to keep the knowledge of the classes as low as possible. In other words, I don't want something that's residing in this bottom level component to be aware of what's happening at the top, because then what can happen is that you can have something that's happening in your parent, and that can mess with something that's happening in your child component, right? You have to be aware of the states of both of those things, which I don't think is the way to go. So the way that I've opted to do this is that I will make logout button. I will make it a listener for. I will add the main component as a listener, but then I will actually put what I want the button to do when it's clicked in the main component when in a function called button clicked. So I will show you how to do that. So I'm actually just going to quickly see what this logout button looks. And Jas makes a good comment that the colors of objects should make sense or should use gradients. In this case, this actually looks really good. So this is actually the same color as this, even though it doesn't look the same color, which is interesting. But did I do that right? Yeah. Yeah, it is the same color. It's just that it's more solid. But I think that looks better because it's just kind of the same color. Yeah. So describing the problem space again. Once again, we have this child component that has a logout button. Currently, when I click the logout button, nothing is happening. So what I want to happen is that when I click logout, I want this app to go back to the login screen and for the state to reset back to login. So that's what I want to happen. So the way to do this, or the way that I've chosen to do this, there are multiple ways to do this, is that now I'm going to route in a listener. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that through the constructor. So I'm going to first have a look at my main component. So my main component class, so this is the top, like kind of center, the core of the app. And so this main component is a couple different things. It's a timer. It's also a button listener, right? Which means that if I pass main component into a into a child component, that can pass it in as a button listener, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is in my constructor, I'm going to just pass in a button listener, and I will just do that, and you'll see what I'm about to do here, right? So I will then do that here. So now what happens is that when I initialize, going back to my main component, I have this user info. I have this user info component here, right? That I've created. But now what I need to do is on initialization, I need to pass it the button listener, which is my main component, right? So you will see why I am doing this very shortly. So what did I call it? User info. And then I will pass it in. So let me see here. Oh, this is interesting, actually. This is interesting. Interesting problem or interesting question. Do I want user info to exist throughout the lifetime of the app, or do I want it to create and destroy and destruct based on the state of the application? So if I am logged out, do I want a user info component to exist at all? So this is a question that I'm leaning towards having it exist throughout the lifetime of the app. The reason being that if I don't do it that way, then I have to say, if I'm already logged in and the component doesn't exist yet, then I need to create the component. The logic feels like it could be pretty. It wouldn't be complicated, but it would be. Yeah, it doesn't. So let's see. If we're in the login. If we're in a login state, right? So if we're logged out of the mode, if we're logged out and we're at a state where we want to log in, then we don't want to, let's say we go with the option that we do not want this to exist when we're in the login screen. Then the user logs in, and we create one using a unique pointer. And then yeah, so then we create one in the, so that would be created in the setup. Yeah, in the setup phase, because once you've logged in, then you have the setup phase. And let's see, is it possible for the user to go into the app in any other phase of the game or of the app other than the setup phase? And I can't picture a scenario where that would actually happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to not initialize. I've decided that I'm going to make this a unique pointer. So this is going to be something that's going to create itself, or not create itself, or it's going to be created when we log in, and if we log out, then it'll destroy itself. So it will go out of scope. But then let's see, how am I going to get that to actually? So I'm trying to. So the way that I have my states set up makes it a little bit tricky on how to manage the lifetime of that. So let's see. It feels like this feels like a great case to actually use a raw pointer actually and just manage and actually manage that. Feels like a great case for a raw pointer. Yeah. Because the lifetime of it has to actually exist across different states of the application. It's not just existing in one state. So most of the objects that I have created are existing just in one state, but I need this one to exist across states. So yeah. So yeah, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to create a raw pointer and I'm going to manage that manually. Wave Sequencer, Paul, who is a legendary developer, he says live constants look useful. Maybe I should have used, especially maybe useful for developing color themes. Yeah, that's a great question. I think they're useful for, I think you can use them for colors as well. You could definitely use them for setting component bounds. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm actually going to do a tutorial on that next week. So cool. Going back to what we were talking about, managing this this component. So what I'm going to do is we have Scratch Champ user info, and we were going to make this a pointer called user info, and then let's see how we're going to manage this. So we want to create this in the setup screen. We have to be very conscious of what we're doing here, making sure that we're not overlooking outside scenarios that may be happening that may mean that this may exist outside of circumstances that we're calculating. So I'm going to say user info equals new Scratch Champ with a lowercase c user info. So we're going to create a user info, and then what we need to do is we want to pass in a button listener, which is going to be our main app component. And you'll see why I need to do this at a certain point. So this keyword is a pointer to this class that I'm in right now. And since I'm using a reference for button listener, I need to actually dereference this. So like that, okay? And I'm actually going to, so I want to make sure that one of these doesn't exist already. So let me see. So if user info, I'm not sure if this is the right way to think I could do it like that. So might have to say if user info is not equal to null pointer, which is a longer way. So if user info doesn't exist, then we're going to create it. Else, delete our old one. Then user info, and then we do this. So since both of these have the same line, can't we just shorten it down to this? Get rid of the else. So we will say if user info, delete user info, and then we will create a new one. Yeah, and then I'll pull this back out here like that. So that means if we already have a user info object that is somehow existing already, then we want to get rid of that one and we want to create a fresh new one. So yeah, and then let's see here. So we are doing that. We want to make sure that we also account for this in our destructor. So we will make sure that we get rid of it in our destructor. So we're managing it there. So it could be destroyed there or destroyed there. And then let's see. So another thing to think about is, so the user hits the logout button. It will get logged out, which will bring us back to the login. And then we also want in login to make sure that if there's user info, if our user info object is allocated, then we want to delete it there as well. So this means that it won't actually exist to be visible, which would be terrible. We do not want to try to do things if they don't exist, right? So so then the only stage where we're actually creating one is in setup. And okay. So let's see if that works. Right. Oh yeah. So yes, another thing is so this is good, right? So anytime that we're trying to use a raw pointer, we want to make sure that we actually check it to make sure that it actually exists, because we don't want to actually try to use it unless it exists, right? So if user info, this seems like one of the few times where using a raw pointer is actually the way to go here, because we want to manually manage. We want to manually manage the lifetime here. So there we go. And then, so user info, just making sure that I've actually done this properly. So I've done it there, I've done it there. And then I want to make sure once again that this actually works. This is actually valid. Nearly there. And we don't want to add the child component at the beginning, right? Because it's not going to exist. And then now you can see why people don't like using raw pointers, right? Somebody out there is probably yelling at me saying, you should not be doing this way. If you have a better way of doing this, I would love to hear it. So let's see. So we have if user info, and then in here is where I want to add it as a child component. So let's do, actually it should just be add and make visible. And this will be this, get rid of this. So, okay, so on load, so I don't need to add and make it visible here. I'll just do that here. And then I can just get rid of this here. It's a little bit of so visible. I spelled that right. There's a little bit of state management here that's happening. So be a little bit to get through this and set up play screen. No, that's fine. And let's see, member referenced. Yeah, I did that. So now that should go away. Okay. So let's see if this actually works. We'll probably have a couple errors here. So let's see here. So just need to, I didn't spell that right. So what should happen is that user info should exist when we go into the setup state. And then yeah, so that should be fine. So it should show as visible. So while we are waiting for that to build, so question is, gen export to juice a viable technique to create VSTs? Yes, it is. It is. I think it's a little bit. I think it has some quirks in it, but there have been several developers who have actually used Gen to actually create their to help create their Juice plugins. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but we're going to actually have tutorials on that coming up soon from Marco, who is our resident Max MSP expert. So here we go. So here's our login screen, and I'm going to hit login, and now there we go. So now our component exists. And we will hit select lesson, and it's staying there. We're not getting any crashes, thank goodness. But our logout button still doesn't actually do anything, right? Doesn't do anything yet. So now what we need to do is we actually need to make it, do something. So what we're going to do is we have, so we're going to go back to the point where we actually create it. And we're going to do, so we've passed in our button listener into our user info class. And now what we need to do is we need to add our logout button as a broadcaster to this listener. So what's going to happen is that our listener, which is our main component, our top level component, is going to be listening for changes from our logout button. And to do that, we need to do logout button, add listener. And one thing that I need to do. So this is where it starts getting a little bit complicated, right? So what I need to do is I actually need to create a reference for this button listener, because when this class actually destroys, I want to remove the button listener. But if I don't create a reference to the listener, then I won't have a way to remove it in the destructor. So what I have to do is I need to create a destructor. So the way we do that is like this. So we'll do user info like that. And now I'm going to create a juice button listener. Very importantly, got to do the ampersand to make it a reference. I'm just going to call this listener. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the listener. So now the listener is a reference to the listener, to my main component as a listener. And what I need to do is I need to first, when I'm creating the component, I need to add it like this. And then when I'm getting rid of the user component, when I'm deleting the user component, so we will do this. User info. Now I need to do this. Remove listener. Okay. If I didn't create a listener reference, then I wouldn't be able to do this, because I'd have no access to the listener. Yeah, there may be a way to do that. I'm wondering if there's a. I think that there's actually now that I'm thinking of it, I think there's something called remove all listeners, which would mean that I wouldn't actually even need to do that. So let me take a look here. So I'm in the text button class, which is a component class, listener. So I'm just, so I think it's called remove all listeners. Maybe not. Let me just try one more way. So add listener, remove listener. Scrolling down, down, down. Remove key listener. Remove component listener. Okay, maybe not. I thought there was a function that was called remove all listeners, but there's not. That would be cool though. Prevent you from having to do this pattern where you have to actually pass it by, where you actually have to create a reference to it, which I think would probably confuse some beginners. So so yeah, so now we have that, and then so now we've added and removed it as a listener. So now the reason that we need to do this is that we now need button, we need to listen out and direct what we want the app to actually do when we actually hit the logout button, right? So we could say if, so let's see. So first thing we want to do is we want to say if user info. So that means if our user info actually exists, now what we want to do is we need to give it access to the button because we need to see if it's that button that's actually been clicked, right? So what I'm going to do is in my user info class, I'm going to do const juice text button reference get logout button. Then I'm going to return logout button like that. Okay. Some people would probably say just give access to the logout button. I don't really like doing that. I like doing it like this, just so I know what I'm giving access to. And by default, I give things private access. So I just like doing it that way. That's just, I don't know. That's just my style. I don't know if it's the right style or not, but that's just what I try to do. And then, so then we need to say if button is equal to user info get logout button, then we will do, then we need to change the state, right? Which is game state is equal to game state login. So we're going to take them back to the login screen, and we need to call screen changed, and then return. And we could just return out of that. So this just prevents us from needing to go all the way through all of this business. So we have quite a few different state change possibilities here. And yeah, so now the logout button should, when we click on it, should bring us back to the login screen. So here we go. This is the big test here. So this should be this. Okay. So let's see here. Get logout button. It's a function. And then I do need to put the ampersand in front of it. There we go. So George asks, can you quickly go over your project structure, style sheets, etc.? Yes, I will do that once we get done with this part here. So here we go. So yeah, just trying to think of outside cases where this user info might dangle on me. So just going back down to, build failed. So, this needs to be an ampersand, sorry. There we go. And yeah, just thinking about scenarios where this where this user info would give problems. So once it's logged out, then it actually deletes it cleans up user info. Yeah, just thinking about if there are any problems with that, why that could potentially cause us problems. Can't think of anything at the moment that would go wrong there. So let's see. So we're back. So let's see, we log in, should create object. I should actually have it where it consoles it out. Object created, object destroyed. So let's go through to the play screen. So we're going to do a little testing here. Now I'm going to hit the logout button. It should go back to the logout to the login screen. So I've clicked the logout button and nothing's happening, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of debugging. So let's go back to button clicked. So let's go here. See if something happens. So it's not capturing. Oh, you know what? I think I know what might be wrong. I think it actually isn't anything to do with this. It might actually be, if I go to resized, I think I need to put the component to the top, just the way that I have this set up. So let me make sure. So I'm going to do user info to, I think it's called to top. Make sure I got it right. Autocomplete is to top. Or top. So where is this? So let's go back to the component class. Then down here, and then to top. Oh, what's it called? Should be on top. Oh, I can't remember what it's called now. Let's see, desktop. Oh, set always on top. That wasn't the exact one I was looking for. There was another one. Get top level component, set opaque. Okay. Maybe that is the one. I'm sure that there was one called to top. So there's to front. To front is what I want. Okay, let's try that. Too few arguments should be, so to front. Should also gain focus. We want that to be true. Here we go. Okay, should load quickly. Here we go. Build succeeded. And log in. Okay, now let's try logging out. Oh, cool. So we can see now that when I hover over it, it gains focus. So I'm going to go first all the way to the play screen. So there's select lesson. And now I'm going to hit log out, and it should bring us back to the login screen. You're trying to create a weak reference to an object that has already been deleted. Okay. So let's go back through the call stack here. I knew this wasn't going to work exactly the plan. Okay. So it's called resized. It's called resized before it has called before it's initialized the login state. Okay, so let's take a look. So setup button. So here's the problem. The problem is that I'm trying to access user info, and user info doesn't exist anymore. So I've deleted it, but it's still calling. It's still. So do I need this? Do I need to reset it to null pointer? If I delete it and then say user info equals null pointer. So delete, because, so let me just see. C++, do I need to set to null after delete? I always set a pointer to null, now null pointer, after deleting the object it points to. It can help catch many references to freed memory. Is a good practice. So let's see what good old Stack Overflow says. Setting a pointer to 0, which is null, is somewhat different. Avoids crashes on double deletes. In other words, if you don't set deleted pointers to 0, you could be in trouble if you're doing double deletes. But it's often a bit of a band-aid for more fundamental problems. Why are you using a pointer in the first place? Yeah, there's probably a better way to do this than when I'm doing it. What is the better way? I don't know. I don't know. It's something that I will probably ask at a later point. I don't want to waste everybody's time. Yeah. So so Spencer, who's a good friend of ours, says that you should set it back to null pointer. So let's see. user info equal to null pointer. So I'm going to do that. So then, so let's go to all of our deletes. So I'm going to do this, and then do this. And there we go. So let's see if that fixes the problem. So it's trying to call resize before, it's trying to call resize to user info before it's actually deleted the object. Let's see, so I'm going to hit log out now. Okay, so it brought me back to, so it brought me back that time. Hopefully it's not something that just happens on chance. So I'm going to hit log out again. Okay, and it brought us back to logouts. So that looks to be the problem, to have been the problem, should I say. So I'm going to do it again. Hit log out, and yeah, it brings me back to login screen. Cool, so that actually works. How about that? Awesome. Great, thank you very much, Spencer. That actually fixed that problem. So cool. So now what we'll do is let's see if we can bring in the actual user info. So we have this email field. We hit login. Let's see if we can put the email now here in this label. And so I'm just going to try testing this again. Cool. So now we're going to try to get the actual name or the email into that component. So let's work on that. So the component itself is down here in user info. Actually, let me go back a step, actually, because George had actually asked a question that I wanted to address, which was how I have the style sheet set up and look and feel. So I have it. It's a bit of a strange one because I have two apps that use this shared lib. So I actually have this written as a juice module, but in here I have a look and feel class. And so in here I have this style sheet. So these are all static const. So there's only one copy of these. So this is how I've set this up, where you have your color scheme. So these are just colors that we've picked for this app, and also fonts as well. So I have 3 different fonts that I'm using, and I put those into typeface pointer objects. Once again, as static consts. And the way that I have it is I have it where it's visible to it's in the scope. Well, since it's in a module, it's actually within the scope of any of the other classes that I could potentially use this in. So it's in this namespace Scratch champ, and so I can literally go to any of my classes here. So let's go to play screen, right? And let's see here. So here's one. So I have this theme color orange that I actually set, and you can actually call it. You just call it like that, and it'll actually show up. And that's essentially how it works. It's as simple as that. So yeah, that's really it. That's all there is to it. Yeah, probably worth a good. That's probably worth a tutorial as well on that. So here's another one that I'm using, dark tone color. So so yeah, that's how you do it essentially. Cool. So going back to the problem we're dealing with at the moment, which is that we have this user info, and we want this to have a an email field. I think later we'll put in we'll actually put in a DJ name field where the user would actually have their own DJ name. But for now, we'll just make it the email, just so there's something there. And so let's see. So we will say, let's see how we're actually going to bring this in. So what I would do is I would make a juice label, and I'll just call this name label. And so thinking about this on initialization of this object, since it's a pointer that would be developed, that would be created only after login, I want to set, when I create this, I want to create it with the name of the user. So the question is, where can I get that name from? So let's have a look in our data classes for our authorization and see how we can actually capture this. So we have this get user that returns a result. So let's see. So we have, let's go back to our top level component here. Go all the way to the top. We have server request. So we should be able to get something from server request, maybe like get name, get email, something like that. So we got get error message. So are we storing this in a place where, so we got update current user. So we got username. Oh yeah, so we would want username, wouldn't we? So register new user, got username, got login user, and I haven't actually gone through this in a while, so I'm just need to actually get remember how the heck I did this. This was with the help of another developer actually who helped make this possible. So you got update current user. I mean, the question is, do we try to capture it just so? I guess what we want to do is get user response, and then got this response body as string. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try this and just see what this string puts out, right? So let's try that first. So server request dot get user is the first thing I want to try. So I will go to setup. I actually do my setup. And so I'm going to do just having a look here. login get login button successful. So yep, so account creation. So let's try here. So we will do server request get user. Let's try that. So if that works successfully, then we should see the user info and actually just print out to the console here. So let's see how this goes. So just waiting for it to do its thing. Okay. Nearly there. One day it'll finish. Did I finish? Did I change something in the module? Let's see. Nearly there. Yeah, because I added some stuff, I think. So. Okay, here we go. Build succeeded. So here we go. We hit this. So when we hit this login button, it should console out the info here. So let's see what happened here. So it did get user response. There's nothing there. Or did it? Oh, here we go. Encountered error. Oh, connection to the server cannot be made. Okay, so looks like something's up with the server. Okay, no problem. It's cool. What I will do is I will actually just put just a holder there for the moment, and then I'll come back to it a little bit later. So just thinking if I wanted to say user DJ at war, hello DJ, or just have just the DJ name there. Yeah, how far do we want to go with this? I think just the user is fine. And we'll put it in bold. So let's see here. So I will go back down here to the UI, to user login, user info, and we will do name label dot set set text. Is it set text? I always forget what. Here we go. So we'll go label set text. And I will just say DJ at war. Use don't send notification. And then add and make visible name label. We also want to set the font on this. So we got name, label, set font. And I will do juice font, bold font, width, height. How do we want to make this? 16, maybe? Let's try that. And now we just need to actually put it in there. So I'm going to actually do my juice live constant thing again. So auto x equals juice live constant. So I'll just there like that. And I'll copy this 4 times. This will be Y, this will be width, this will be height. So let's see, what do we already need? So we got name, label, set bounds, relative. So this will be X. I think the Y I will put all of these in there. And cool, let's build it. So I added it, I made it visible. And yeah, we just need to decide how big we want to make this now. So just trying that now. Let's do this. Big shout out to everybody who's hanging out with me tonight. Yeah, this is cool. This is a learning experience for me as well. I'm learning a lot, and I hope you are too. Let's see how our Discord is doing. So, oh wow, we got quite a few people who have joined. Holy cow! That's pretty cool. Quantum Dumbass. Creative name. Waiting for this to build. Okay, got build succeeded. Here we go. So we got some good news. Okay, here's where this awesome. So I hit the login button. Okay, this is where this really comes into play. So let's see. So 0.1 is fine. So let's make the width and height a little bit bigger here. So we will make the width, so 0.5. We'll make the height 0.8 maybe. So that's cool. Feels like it needs to be bigger, doesn't it? I should have actually made the font size bigger as well. I don't know. This is a this is an interesting question. Can I use it? The thing is, I'm very curious if this is going to work. So let me see. So if I do auto s equals use live We'll make this 28.0. I'm very curious to see because this is going to be called in the constructor, right? But the constructor wouldn't be called again. So I'm going to do a little experiment here to see if this actually works. I don't know if it will or not, because this juice live constant is in the constructor, but this whole constructor would not be called again when I actually, yeah, I'm curious to see what's going to happen here. Hopefully not chaos. So Wills asks, how can I join the Discord server? So the link is just there at the bottom of the screen there, theaudioprogrammer.com/community. Go to that link, fill in your info, and you can join the Discord server. So here we are. We're just waiting for this to build. Going to take a second because I've actually written this in the module. Let's see what's going on with Nick's elementary server. So this is a server for Nick's. Our friend Nick has been working on this thing called Elementary, which is real-time audio for JavaScript, and it's actually been very popular. Over 100 users already in his group. So big shout out to Nick. I hope he's doing well. Amazing developer. And so let's see here if this is actually going to work. I'm curious. Very curious. So the constructor's been called. So, okay, so looks like I can. So let's see here. So we got 0.1. Let's change the size of this. So we're going to make this 0.5. And then I'm going to make the height of this 0.8. The label is still the same size. I wonder if I actually have something that's overriding the label size. Pretty sure that I do actually. Let me set it to something like 60. Yeah. So we can see that this label is staying the same. It's staying the same size, right? Which means that there's something else that's overriding this. So now we just need to go and see. So that would be in my look and feel class where that's actually happening. So if we go into the look and feel class, and we have, so we can see here that we have set text button fonts. That's not what I'm looking for. So we have get pop-up menu font, which is returning a plain font. Then we got get label font. So let's see what we're doing with get label font. So as you can see, we're actually setting the height for this. And I have this whole thing is a whole other story right here. Why it's been done like this. So it's setting so let's see. It's returning a bold bold font with height 20. So there is a way around this. So it's kind of a workaround. I had to do it for, funny enough, I had to do it for this DJ name label Where was I using that at? I really should comment. I really should comment more. I'm terrible with that. Where did I do that at? Oh, that was in my, I remember now. That was actually in my play screen. Interestingly, I'm wondering if I should do the same thing here. I'm going to try something. I'm going to go back to, so DJ name, where I'm setting the DJ name is actually an audio track disc. So let me find that. Let's see here. Where did I put that? In my play screen. See, I thought I'd never have to actually do that again. Yeah, so I've created to actually set a whole different type of label with its own font size. I've actually created it. I've created a new label here. I'm going to just change this here to audio track disc label. Audio track disc label, just so I can associate it with the class. And now I will call this audio track disc label. Now I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go to where I was. So DJ name label should now be audio track disc label. So that's just so I can associate. I've just renamed it so I can reassociate it with the class. And now I'm going to do another else if all of this business. I'm actually going to do the same thing here, but I'm going to call this Scratch Champ user. So what was the name of this class that I was in? User info. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create class user info label. It's going to inherit from juice label. So, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to name this user info label. And then what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to make this user info label. Because what's happening is that it's actually setting the font sizes here. So essentially, this actually isn't going to work. So, okay, so now let's try that. See how it goes. Build failed. Okay, what do we got? Expected this after class. There we go. Just need a semicolon there. If one of the biggest keys to being able to do this is learning at least a decent level of C++. Like I would describe my C++ levels as very it's quite basic actually, but you can see that even if you have just like a minimal understanding of C++, you can actually zoom around juice pretty quickly if you just know about references, pointers, scopes. A lot of the stuff that you need to know is actually covered in a C++ tutorial series that I do with my son, and that's on the that's here on the channel, on the YouTube channel. So yeah, you can take a look at that. You can see that a lot of those things are fundamentals, just very basic C++ stuff. It takes a little bit of time, and it's taken me. I would say it's taken me longer than I think it would take most people with the same level of dedication. But I think that yeah, if you just do this, if you just code a couple hours a day, you'll be good to go, and you'll be up and running in no time. You'll be doing constructing and destructing, and yeah, you'll be telling me how to do things. We had a tutorial, we had a live stream yesterday that we did with this developer named Ben Vining, who he's only been developing for a year, and he's already doing stuff that I've never done before, I've never even conceived of before. And yeah, he's pretty far along, pretty advanced for his for how long he's been developing. So big up to Ben. He's doing awesome. So we got 0. So we'll try 0.5 now for the width. We see that the font is bigger, which is nice. And for the height, let's try 0.8. So that's quite a bit better. I think that's a good size right there. What do you think? Yeah. It'd be cool to have like a little profile picture or something beside it. I suppose that the X position could be a little bit, should this be maybe it should be centralized. Yeah, probably be good to have it centralized. So what would be nice? So what I think we should do is we can, to figure out where that needs to be, what we could do is we could draw a border. We can do a border around the label just temporarily, and then set the justification to centered, and then figure out the central location, because I think this would look nice, just like centralized between the beginning and the logout info, the logout button. Just make sure that works. So that still works, which is cool. So cool. So let's go back and let's do that. So userinfo.cpp, and we want to do name label.set color, and then now we just want to do we have these color IDs, and we want to do outline color ID. Okay, so that's what we want. So we'll say juice label color IDs, outline color ID, and juice colors white. And I think that's all we really need to do. I'm wondering if we should make the font a little bit bigger. No, I think that's good. Oh, I remember what I wanted to do now. So we got name label set. I think it's called set justification. Set justification. So we got set justification type. Justification type. And juice justification centered, like that. So what we're doing is we're creating the label. We're putting a white border on the outside temporarily just to show how much space we have. And then we want to put the actual DJ name centered within the label. And then what we'll do is once we have the boundaries of that set out, then we'll actually just remove the border afterwards. So so yeah, that's a technique that I use a lot when creating various components and you want to see the actual bounds where they're actually fitting. It's quite useful. So getting there. Another question that I'm thinking about is maybe the text color should be different. Hold on, I'm just going to hit pause on this while I'm actually I'm gonna do that quick, because the thing is that the player color, so the color that you are, is this red orange color. So I think it makes sense that your username would also be the same color as well. So let's do that. Color IDs. I think it's text color ID that we're looking for. Text color ID. Text color ID. And this will be theme color. I think in the style sheet, we renamed it like player color. Yeah, so we'll do player color because maybe we'll come back and change that later. Player color. There we go. There we go. We are getting there. And I think after this, maybe I'll call it an evening. I mean, we've been on now for a little while. This has been a lot of fun, though. This is very motivating. So I hope you're having the thrilling time that I'm having. I'm having a fantastic time. So here we go. It's nearly built. What would be awesome is if I'm just thinking if the DJ has a really long name, how would we do that? We could set. I mean, there must be a way we could dynamically do that. I'm not going to worry about that at the moment, but something that I'm thinking about. Because what would be nice is if the name got too big, if it started going outside the bounds of the label, that the text would actually dynamically shrink to make sure that it always fits inside of it. That would be really cool. Is there, maybe there's a, I wonder if there's a method in label for getting the edges, seeing if the text is hitting the edges. So you got get border size. Set minimum horizontal scale. Set specifies the minimum amount that the font can be squashed horizontally. So it looks like there's some facilities in here for this. Yeah, I'll come back to that at some point. So here we go. We hit login. Oh, I keep forgetting to. Oh, I need to set these. So So let's see, what's the X going to be? So we want to bring this over to the left now. So I'm going to make this 0.0, oh, point 0.02. Yeah, because we have 0.02 of a border around the logout button. So I want to try to make that consistent, right? So we're going to make the Y 0.02 as well. Oh. 0.02. Did I do that right? That doesn't look like. That doesn't look like 0.02 to me. Oh, as it should be 0.2. There we go. Interesting. So this is 0.02? Okay. At any rate, it looks fine for now. Then we will make this 0.6. So 0.6 is too big. 5.5. 5.5 is good. And then we will make this should actually be the same as the logout button height, which is 0.6. So here we go, 0.6. Don't know if I like it in red. Feel like maybe it should be white. I'm going to make it a little bit wider, so make this 0.58. 575. Pretty good. Yeah, you're not going to see this white border around. I'm going to this is actually going to be an interesting experiment because I want to see if I can do things, if I could do juice live constant things other than numbers. This would be an interesting one. So let's first put our coordinates in here. So we got 0.02. We got a Y of 0.2. We got a width of 0.575. And we got a height of 0.6. And now I'm going to take away the white border because we don't need that anymore. That was just to help us get our bearings on where our name was. And so now I'm going to do this thing where what I want to do is I'm going to do auto C equals layer color. Like this. I'm just going to put this in here. And what I want to do is I want to see if I can actually change the color on the fly as well. This will be interesting. So we're going to try to change the color. Oh, I need to do that juice live constant. So let's do juice live constant. So the question here is, can we actually change the color as well on the fly, as well as coordinates for components? So this will be interesting. So we want to see if we want it to be that reddish orange color that we have as the color of the player, of us, the user, or if we want to have it in white. So here we go. It'll take a second for this to build. So let's check the Discord while we're doing that. Got new members. Wills is in the building. Welcome, Wills. Thank you for joining us. We have a lot of really cool people joining up with us. Thank you very much for everybody who's been joining the Discord community as well. Got Eyal dropping knowledge as always. Big shout out to Eyal. So this is still building. Cool, it's getting there. This is how I'm spending my Saturday nights now. Used to spend it clubbing and DJing, and now I'm spending it in doing live coding sessions. How about that? Yeah, so it's good. Feels productive. Feels very productive. Just waiting for this to finish doing its thing. Should be done in just a second. Okay, here we go. Something. So we got. So it's built now, and now I'm curious to see if we can actually change this color on the fly. If we could do that, wow, amazing. So here we are. Oh, so you have to do it. How does this work? So this is a memory location. I'm just going to copy that for the moment. I hope this doesn't mess this up. So let's see, juice. Let's try Jew. CE colon. We'll see. OURS. When UHIT. Does that work? So I have a feeling this does work, but that then maybe I've done it wrong. Looks like it wanted to do it, but well, I see it says here color, but it's not quite doing it. Not quite sure why that's happening. But if I do that, it's fine. I think this is actually okay, having it red. So I'm going to do. I just want to see how it looks on the play screen. I think it looks good. It looks a little bit weird because the lesson that's been recorded is me, so it shows as DJ at War as well. So it's a little bit weird that I'm the, but really it should be DJ at War here that should be replacing player. And yeah, it would be weird if that was in white and that was in red, I think. So I think it makes sense that that stays in red. And then if I hit log out, it should log me out. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, this is good progress. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to leave it there. I think this is a good point for us to end the night on a high note, right? There's still a lot of other stuff that that I want to do. I need to get all of the other stuff in there, the BPM, you know, the name of the lesson. Maybe that's something. If I feel the motivation for doing live coding on a Sunday, maybe we'll do that tomorrow. But yeah, this is and also correcting these errors as well. This one's actually happening in a lib, not errors, warnings. But I need to do this. I need to correct this one, which is a deprecated method. But I can come back to that at some point in the future. Yeah, but I think I'm gonna chill out now, and I think I'm gonna play some video games and chill out. But that felt like a really successful coding session. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna sign off now, and thank you everybody who tuned in, and we will I'll be back again soon for some more live coding. Thank you. Be sure to join our community, and we will see you next time.